Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dasch Cast. I am Curtis Dash, and join with me after an amazing Week 6 victory is a victorious Brandon Colongo. Brandon, say hello, my friend. How are you feeling?
Hey man, thanks for watching everyone.
Yeah,
I'm
this
feeling
is
great.
this is a good week coming for it's been a good victory week for you, not so much for me, but yeah, this is a very interesting Packers Bucks game we'll talk about here. That's the very first thing on our agenda, and just like I did last week in our special and before, I'm gonna give you the floor again, man. How you feeling after that great Bucks victory?
Well, it's funny because I almost was nervous in the beginning,
Right?
and I'm normally a very composed sports fan, so I was watching that thinking, oh, we got a lot of time, but next thing I know, it's 10-0, and we're stopped on a three and out basically, and then obviously the rest kind of went all downhill from there from the Packers with a pick six and then another what should have been pick six, but uh, without a doubt, what took the lead over was that second interception.
Yeah,
And the
we
Bucs did what they were supposed to do, and Tom Brady actually played excellent. I think that was probably his best performance all year, and that was probably the worst performance I've seen from Aaron Rodgers.
yeah, man. I guess let me. Where do we begin here? All right, I guess I'll start with Green Bay. Obviously, I was pretty confident coming into this game. I thought we were going to do well. Of course, I picked them. You know, we were 4-0, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows that story. And for about 5 minutes of the first quarter, I looked like a freaking genius, obviously. And then we all know about what happened. And then that pick six really hurt. And like you're kind of alluding to, that second interception really just destroyed any momentum. I mean, this is a football team that hasn't turned the ball over on offense in 4 games. And then we come out and turn the ball over to you twice. And not only do we turn the ball over, it's Aaron Rodgers who turns the ball over, and I don't think that's something I really would have grasped. Now, coming into this next week, I get a little bit worried about talking about the Packers because I know we're facing the Texans, and of course we'll talk about that at another time. But I'm worried because this is yet another primetime opponent, yet another big opponent that we were supposed to compete with, and we weren't even in the game. I mean, we were for the first 5 minutes, right? But it reminds me so much of that demolishing we took from the Niners twice
Mm.
last year. I'm going to ask you a strange question. Do you think I should be worried in how Green Bay kind of takes these teams going up, or is this more to say
Well,
how good
I
Tampa Bay
wanna
is?
I want to take one moment. Your left tackle, I believe,
Yeah,
went
Bakhtiari.
down.
Yep.
Yeah, Bakhtiari. He went down, so I am going to say that it kind of reminded me a little bit what the Bucks pass rush did to the Packers. Kind of reminded me of what the Bears pass rush did to the Bucks.
Okay.
And coming into the game, I actually felt like it was a win-win for the Packers, but I have since realized that it was the way that you lost. I thought it would have been win-win if it was a close
Close
game,
game,
and
right? Yeah.
but that definitely raises some red flags for sure. What I was struck by was how they didn't fight back. I really expected, because two pick sixes basically is kind of what they were, but you still got a lot of time to play, and there's no reason why you can't end up with. You could have a three touchdown game, two interception.
Yeah, some of the
It
calls at the end of the game kind of bothered me. Like we're punting instead of going for it and stuff like that. It's like, okay, like look, I get you're conceding the game, guys, but fight for something. I mean, I need to see something out there. And I kind of was wondering if we were going to get to see some Jordan Love, and obviously Boyle is number two on the depth chart, and we did
right,
get to see him during the when both
right.
teams had understood what was going on. But man, that's tough. I feel a lot more confident in Tampa Bay after that throttling. And to be honest, I know you said Brady played well, but Brady still didn't even play all that well, and y'all beat us bad. Brady 17 to 27, a buck 66, two TDs. Those aren't really amazing numbers, but they're not bad numbers. I mean, they could be Aaron Rodgers, 16 to 35, buck 62 INTs. Um, I feel good
Yeah,
for
so
you.
I think you're too hard. I think you're too hard on Tom Brady for the incompletions when Bucks are number two and drops passes.
Yeah, and that's something that we've kind of briefly mentioned, I think, off air, and we've mentioned this on air a couple of times. That's something that doesn't get talked about. Like, imagine if his receivers are actually Brady's receivers are catching the ball. Is that like a 52 to 10 game?
Exactly.
God, I hope not, because that would have been
So
awful.
so yeah, and everyone did play. Surprisingly to me, besides Fournette, I actually didn't see Fournette out there.
Yeah, I don't know what was going
Not
on with
that he
that.
had to play because Jones did a great job. He did exactly what he had to do.
exceptionally
and
well.
then some. He played probably yeah he probably played better than expected.
Yeah, I would agree. Like 23 carries, a buck 13, two TDs. I mean, good for him. Um, I want to stop the hemorrhaging. I gotta move on to another game. It's just it's been hurting thinking about this all week. Let's talk about the Jags, unfortunately, because we gotta stay on the pain train. Getting blown out at home, 34-16. That's a rough look. How you feeling about that game, man?
The Jags are slowly but surely proving themselves to be exactly what I thought they were. And it's funny because in week one, I really took a good, long, hard look in the mirror and was like, am I wrong about this team? And then as every week goes on, reality sets back in. And
That's so true.
the one Cinderella story does exactly as I predicted, which, not to change the subject, but reminds me of my Patriots prediction.
Yes, and we'll get there. That was the next game. I was actually gonna do that game, but I wanted to hit this Jags game first because
Yeah,
that
it
was
just
just
it just didn't look good. It was ugly. The Lions are not as good as we made them look. The Lions are bad, basically.
yeah.
And when bad team is beating you 34-16, that's a red flag. Minshew's not the problem.
Yeah, and that's something we
There,
said when we were watching the game too. I think that's something
right.
you and I both agree with.
I I still have this master plan of just keeping Minshew and getting a great draft pick quarterback and having the best quarterback and backup duo in the league.
Could make for some interesting things. Obviously, I'm not really sold on that theory, but what
Because
do I
even
know?
though, because even though it's not Minshew's fault that they're losing, he's
True.
also not making the difference.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is kind of the league to where it's like, well, if you're not doing anything for us, we're just gonna get rid of you anyway.
Yeah,
but
it's fair enough.
but that's not. I guess that doesn't make it right. But you know how the NFL is. It is a business after all. And speaking of businesses, we're gonna go to the most business as usual team on the planet with Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots and Cam Newton losing to the Denver Broncos. Now, in a game that only had 30 combined points compared to a lot of the other games we've kind of talked about. 18-12, a Broncos win there, and 95% of the nation, including myself, picked the Patriots here. Is there kind of time to panic in New England? Is Cam Newton gonna figure this out? Like, what's going on, man?
It's been time to panic. I told you from as soon as they let go of the goat that they're going to be in
You did?
perpetual rebuild mode, and that is what this is until they get an Aaron Rodgers type, Drew Brees esque, Tom Brady quarterback, and Cam might actually be almost he's good enough to win it, but their team is just too. This really puts in perspective what Brady worked with last year. I mean, if this doesn't prove his point for being a real difference maker, I mean, this is just an all around bad team, and they're being exposed even with Cam Newton, who's still a great quarterback, and actually has the ability in terms of his athleticism, getting out of the pocket and being able to move pretty well and run people over for that matter. Even he can't overcome what Bill Belichick left on this team.
Yeah, it almost feels like I know we always talk about Nick Foles being the kryptonite for Brady, but maybe Brady was the kryptonite for the Patriots, uh, or maybe Cam Newton is. I mean, Cam Newton really hasn't looked well since he came back. I mean, in this week, 17 to 25, buck 57, two ints. However, he did run for one on 10 carries, hair under 80
Yeah,
yards. I mean, that's kind of what I expect Cam Newton to do, but the ints have to go. The 17 to 25, I love. If you want to go ahead and call it 19 to 25,
that
I guess, but.
interception though, I'm not too hard on him on that interception. It
Well, there's
was
two. Which the first one I think was a. Honestly, I should have watched the tape. I don't remember at the top of my head, but I mean, both teams, both of these teams, like both Broncos and Patriots, like neither of them could score. Locke didn't play well, 10 of 24, a buck 89, but two ints. I don't know if he's the
yeah, it
answer
was
in Denver.
death by field goals
Oh
right there.
yeah. I mean, McManus 45 yards. McManus 44 yards. McManus 27 yards. Like McManus 52 yards. It's just, I mean, if you got into in fantasy, you're feeling pretty good. But I mean, maybe your prediction about New England's starting to be clear because I actually am going into games like going into this next week. Of course, we'll talk about this later. But going into this next game, looking at teams, especially looking at teams like the Patriots, and being like, man. Maybe Brandon was right. Like, I started off strong, just like the Jags, but ever since that peak, I think I peaked in week 2, and we're having an issue. I don't know if the Patriots are the same way. It's just a weird team on a team that actually I don't think their defense is that terrible. I mean, they did. I
Well,
mean,
there's certain things the winning culture and discipline that they play with, that's going to keep you in a lot of games. And
sure.
so the other undisciplined teams that they went against, were able to shoot themselves in the foot enough to where they were able to hang in there. And, I feel like they stole one game, and obviously they blew out the Dolphins.
Yeah, which is that's whatever. That's typical.
But yeah,
It,
that's what happens when you lose a goat. You just, it's good luck. I
it's a
mean, it's gonna
noticeable
take a
change.
while.
Yeah, I mean it's you called it. They haven't performed all that well. I mean a lot of people. You were a lot higher on Cam Newton, I think, than I was. But I really, kind of thought deep down in what's left of my soul that I really thought he could do something, and maybe I'd not fill in for Brady, but do a respectable
He
job.
can, but this team isn't good. That's the problem, and that's what people don't realize is like, yeah, no, Tom Brady's not a system quarterback. He made all of these flaws fall to the wayside.
Yeah, all this stuff that we're seeing now, we're seeing the Patriots get exposed because you don't have Tom Brady there, and I think that is something to be said. But we'll go ahead and wrap this up on that. For just one thing I wanted to throw out here for any of my Julian Edelman fans like Brandon here, he did go 2 of 2 and had 38 yards in that game, a passer rating of a buck 18. Just saying, Cam Newton needs to leave. Get Edelman in there. No, I'm kidding. Those are true numbers though. I had no idea. I don't remember him throwing it all in that game, so it was kind of funny for me to read on the stat line. And then another thing I wanted to say before I wrapped up real quick is for Brandon's argument about stats that he's always making and how they really don't matter. Well, not saying they don't matter, but they don't matter as much. If you look at the Bucs and Packers game, that is a game that stats will not tell you the full story. I mean, Green Bay had the possession for 31 minutes and such like that. Uh, I just had to give you props. I just thought about that and I was like, oh man, because I had actually wrote it down in my notes and I forgot to tell you about it.
Oh
But
yeah, well, thank you.
of course, of course. As always, guys, you'll have our reactions. We'll have some Saturday stuff for you guys. Talking, we're not really going to talk too much baseball, I don't think. Even though the Rays, I mean, Tampa has the chance
I
to get some.
know
We could be
Tampa
talking
might
about
win it in
that.
every sport.
We could be talking. Man, wouldn't that be a story? Wouldn't that be a
That would
Tampa
be.
would be insane.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
just going to be a party literally every minute. But please like, subscribe, share, listen, comment. We would love to hear from you guys. We appreciate you listening every week. We'll see you next clip.